No way. A Dave Crosland Spider-Man? Awesome!
No, you're awesome.
No, you are.
I know.
This is Jerry.
This is Lane.
This is Dave. And you are listening to the Creative Impulse Podcast.
Dave Crosland, you're an artist who writes and draws his own material. Is that unique amongst your peers? And how did you find yourself? How did you find yourself doing that? How did you find that you're adept at working in both mediums?
Well, I like to think I'm adept. I'm flattered you think so.
You're a full-on Jedi, Crosland. You're a damn Jedi master.
Wow, thank you.
The Force is strong in this one.
Oh God, it's funny. I have a whole Luke Skywalker analogy I thought of to mention.
Crosland, and I have not forgotten about how you wore that damn lightsaber in senior year of high school.
Was not me. That was not me. As far as becoming a writer, it's funny because a lot of my self-written comic stuff, it's not widely released. I have one book of short stories and a monthly strip I was doing out on Image called Slop and Electa, but that came out in 2005, 2006. But no, for me it was I started off writing my own comics because I was pitching. I was showing my portfolio around, but not getting comics jobs. And I would pitch a series to say Image or I guess Fantagraphics. Like publishers I was really into back in the mid to late '90s. And they were, of course, oh, good work, but we don't know where this stuff fits in with us. So, luckily, I looked up to guys like Jim Mahfood, Scott Morse, I looked up to indie creators who were just putting out mini comics or doing these quick, little independent releases. And they were also working professionals, but I started noticing that the artists I was into, they were oh, you know what, if you're not going to put this out, screw you, I'll do it myself. Mm-hmm. And that whole DIY thing, it sunk into me later in college, and then I just I guess no one told me I couldn't write. No one ever told me, hey kid, you need to learn how to do this.
DIY is an acronym and it stands for do it yourself. Why do we do things for ourselves? Well, there's lots of reasons why we do them. DIY is a term that stands for doing it yourself, not having someone else do it for you because you're sick of having other people do things for you. And or you think you can do things for yourself better than someone else can do it for you.
So I just write my stupid little stories and I draw them out. But now it's gotten to the point, and I don't think it's unique. I don't think it's unique to me. There's so much of a DIY culture just to the world now, in the creative world, and I think everywhere it feels like that. If you go online, you can find any web cartoonist. You can find someone who's just chilling out in their small town or their village or whatever, drawing their own comic and putting it online. No one ever told me I couldn't write, and so I've always been writing my own stuff, and I've always done shorts for anthologies. And now it's funny because now I've had ideas for years, some of them for a decade almost, where I'm oh, this should be a great series, and I would always get frustrated for not finishing it, not getting it done, not putting it out there to the world or pitching it or anything. But now I realize I just wasn't ready, and now I am writing series, a few series that I want to pitch. I'm writing things I want to have come to fruition in the next couple of years, bigger things where it's oh wow, you actually wrote this piece. You wrote a full graphic novel. It's. I feel like that side of me, it's I'm matured enough to actually pull it off.
Which publisher allows more flexibility? I mean, I've seen you've done work with a lot of different publishers. Who would you say allows you the most flexibility in your creative process?
Yeah, burn some bridges.
Sorry. Wayne.
All right, this point where I have to go off the record and say, don't ask me those questions.
Yes, exactly.
No,
no, seriously, I'm kidding.
I'll just go hang out in the corner now.
No. Honestly, it's I thought about that actually before you called. Every project is different at every publisher. Some publishers will come down and edit you and want to see changes, and honestly, I haven't ever really experienced that. Like the books I've worked on, I've been fortunate to not have like a lot of editorial like cramping or anything like that. But I just feel like it's different from every project. And I think working in the indie world, when you come to a publisher and you're like, oh, I've got this idea, I've got this figured out. I think more often than not, they most publishers, in my experience, they tend to like back the creator's decisions, and it's going to be different for everybody. I'm sure there are editors out there who would just crush you. And actually, I pitched a series to Vertigo way back in the day, and I remember they wanted me to just write it. They wanted me to just be the writer, and I was like, "What? No, I must draw it. I must draw it." We didn't get picked up. The assistant editor I was working with, he really dug the piece, but when it went above him, I got shut down. But it's I guess. To backtrack, my answer would be that it's going to be different for every project. Or like Vertigo, DC, like Legendary, Marvel, like IDW, like working with these like bigger like publishers. It's a lot of work. It's making comics is not easy, and I think being so young and I guess somewhat inexperienced, I didn't realize like, okay, writing and drawing a monthly comic, or even if it was just a miniseries, that's a big load. And I think some of it is logistics too. In the end,
would you have done it differently now? Then, so if you had that same opportunity had been presented to you now, where they said that we want to publish this, but we want you just to be the writer, would you have accepted it and just acted as a writer?
Not for that particular property. No. That one I have a very particular vision for how I'd want to do it. But other ideas I do think like I would step aside and just be a writer. Actually, I just had this conversation with my friend Felipe Smith. He's a comic artist and writer, and he's currently writing this new take on Ghost Rider, where Ghost Rider is like a young kid. He drives a car. It's really cool. It's a really unique take on this old ass character. But when Marvel contacted him, they were like, "Hey, we want you to do the new Ghost Rider." He wanted to draw it, and they were like, "Well, you can have visual input. You can help." But you could come up with the design, but we got to get another artist on there. And he works full time. He's a character designer on the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. And so, just realistically, I think there are the frivolous dreams of youth of being able to do everything, and then you get older and you're like, oh wait a minute, I can't do this. I can't do it all by myself.
What is the hot artist? What is a hot artist? I mean, when I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, I see so many great artists out there, but what makes the hot artist? Like Jim Lee, it seems like he's been hot for 30 or 40 years now, or since we were kids. I mean, and and so what is the hot artist? I mean, how do you determine? Is it depend on the piece? Does it depend on what the trend is? Like what is hot?
Sales?
Like, is it because of their artists, the books that they're working on are selling the most? Their style is like what is hot? What does that mean?
Hot is everything you just described. Hot is it's professional success. It's reliability. It's hitting your deadlines. It's impressing the fans and knowing how to deal with fans, like going to conventions and stuff. I mean, you're kind of just sitting at a table laid bare, and a fan can come up to you and be really nice. A fan can come up to you and be a total jerk. And it doesn't really matter how they act; it's how you respond. It's like, are you going to be cool? Are you going to freak out?
Is there a time? What do you call that? Is there a timeline on that where someone's hot for a while, then they're not hot, then they come back and they're hot again? Does that happen?
Oh, of course. I mean, look at Rob Liefeld.
So how long have you been drawing comic books?
So I was about 7 years old.
Huge hit in the 90s, and then he went through that period where people are just dissing his work. And then he's had a huge resurgence. Like all the 90s guys, the guys we came up with in high school, I feel like they're all have had really long careers. They've had success. They've gotten insulted. It's like these guys have been just bashed online, and they're still creating. I mean, Todd McFarlane, he's like, screw you, make fun of my art. I'm a millionaire.
I was going to say, do I have to look at Rob Liefeld?
Hey man, say what you will about his stuff, but honestly, I wouldn't be making comics or I'd be making art, but I don't think I would have driven so hard to join comics if I hadn't seen his stuff when I did. You know, I was
Me
13,
too.
14 years old.
Me too.
And I was just like, this is so cool. I actually thanked him. I did a convention in Anaheim a couple years ago, and he was there, and I was just like, dude, I was like, seeing you do your thing in the 90s made me want to grow up and do comics, you know?
Me too. New Mutants with 96 and 97 with a big Wolverine fighting Cable on the cover. That was one of the comics that got me into comics back then, because I know how, people say what they say, but man, when I seeing that in X-Men 267, I was like, this is what comic art is like? Where have I been? Before that, there was these kind of, more stiff house styles, and I saw that. I said, this is like art, and I loved it. I got so excited about it. That's why I got in.
Yeah, me too. I remember getting like an issue of Youngblood and just being like, oh my God, he drew every hair follicle on this guy's head.
It was insane.
That excited my young mind. Like, my brain wasn't ready to process, like, The Watchmen, or even Hellboy. Like, I remember you, Dave, you showed me Watchmen and Hellboy. You're like, God, this Hellboy series is so cool. And I was like, that's whack, man. Look at this.
It took me a while to warm up to Mike Mignola's art, because at the time, I was like, I don't know. It was really, it was like so abstract. It wasn't like anything I had never seen before. But then once my palette matured, I thought it was brilliant, and I love his stuff. Like, I'm a huge fan of his work now, and it's so. It seems like his work, his style is timeless too. It seems like that's never gonna go away. It seems like there's, I've asked retailers, I always ask them, so what what is it about Hellboy? They said that, is it a top seller? I said, no, it's not. It's not a top seller. It's a consistent seller. So it seems like in some ways it's more desirable to be a consistent seller than a top seller, because then you have longevity.
Certainly. Yeah, that's actually another part of being hot, is just showing retailers that you can get a book out on time, that when they order your book, it'll sell. It all really ties together. But like I said earlier, it's just like, you will have cold periods. You will have times where you're not hot, but it's a matter of just being a professional. It's like, I tend to think of like being a professional artist the same as like being a banker, being an electrician, being, I don't know, a plumber, a pilot. It's like, I work. I have to work, I have to like just maintain, and it's not always going to be conventions and, like cute girls flirting with me at after parties. Sometimes it's got to be just that grind where you're just at the desk, you're at the studio,
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, it's about making that stuff, man.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Order! Conformity! I'm losing my creativity!
It's the Creative Impulse Podcast!
Get the paddle!
He's gonna crash.
It's coming back! I'm starting to have ideas! I can see things! I can see the light! Oh, it's coming back!
Living in LA it's really amazing. Like, as an artist, it's been just wonderful for me. I lived out here for the first time in 2005, but then after a year I relocated to the Bay, and I was in San Francisco and Oakland, and the Bay Area is beautiful. It's just a really gorgeous place to live, but up there I just found my work was kind of like floundering. Like, I lost my direction or something. That was probably several factors contributing to that, not just living up there. But it was like, then I was up there when the recession hit, and after a while that eventually hit my business. And so I kind of remember I went through a panicky moment. I moved to Oakland for a while, and when I got back to Oakland, I realized I need to move back to Los Angeles. And so I moved back to LA in 2011 and instantly found work. Like, the first week I got back, I started assisting one of my painter friends on a job he was doing, making art for like a horror movie about like a psycho painter, and like right away I got that job. And I just, living here, it's so conducive to like creating, but creating professionally. Like, I always felt inspired in San Francisco, but here I feel inspired to work, and then how can I get this in front of the world? How can I get hired to do this? How can I push this beyond just me making art in my living room?
Wait, Cross, what is it about LA that does that? What do you mean? I know I felt that when I moved to Philly. I felt a different energy in Philly versus being in Buffalo. Can you talk about what did it? Can you quantify what it is about being in LA that makes you more productive or productive in a different way, or how does it vary from each place, from place to place?
I just think that, I mean, the people come here to make it. People come here, and whether they know what they want to make it in or not, people come here with some idea of like making it. But the people who do make it here, they're real about it. They're serious. I mean, you'll run into like development executives at cartoon studios. You go to fine art shows and see these painters, these gallerists, these like people that own the space and like run it and curate everything. And they're sharps. They're just demon beasts. And I don't mean that as like a bad thing. I mean that like they're professionals. Like people out here, and people talk smack about LA and we're superficial or whatever, but like when you cut to the meat of the matter, it's like there are professionals out here. Like there's a reason that like film and video and animation, there's a reason so much stuff comes out of here. And it's like these are really deeply rooted industries, and people are serious, you know. And it's also why you have so many people out here who come out with like a dream but no structure, and they just kind of get dashed against the rocks. And that's, I mean, we have that too. Maybe that motivates me. Like I see the homeless guy who wanted to be a great musician, and I'm like, I gotta hustle. I don't want to end up like that. But I just feel like when you come out here, there's like this layer of people who are like, oh, let's get lunch, let's talk, we should do this project. But just beneath that layer, there are people who are serious, and if you're serious, people react to it. You know, and that's a good thing about like coming from industrial cities, coming from the Midwest, from Buffalo. Is that like you have that blue collar like work ethic, and if you have that out here, you can succeed. You actually can make it in LA, and that's something I didn't feel in a lot of the cities I lived in outside of here.
I was always afraid that it'd be. I always imagined LA would be a place that it'll be so saturated. There'll be so many other artists doing what you're doing, and you'd be lost in a sea of not necessarily competition, but like similar people.
But that's the great thing too, is that it is so saturated. It's like when I lived in Oakland, like I didn't really have a lot of like super creative friends. Like I knew some artists here and there, but I didn't have that tight unit. And so I was always on the phone or online talking with friends like in other cities and other countries. And like here, it was like I have like a creative like nest. Like I have just a web of people, you know, and it's everybody from like my friends to friends of friends, random connections I'll make at galleries, and then like I mean, working in animation, it's just like it's almost like being dropped back into art school because you're instantly just surrounded by like if you're just looking at your team, like my team is I think like our room has like 10 people I think. Wait, hold on, 2, 7. We have 7 people just in my design room. So that's instantly 7 comrades. You know, it's 7 creative pals that I have to work with. It's the saturation is the real benefit, just because everywhere you look, you see someone you can relate to on some level.
Guess who's gonna be surprised when they find out I've already mastered the Ninja Tiger Paw? Here's a hint. It's square with a little ninja in the middle, and it's not in my backpack! It's in here. It's gotta be in here. Oh man, it's not in here. I gotta find it. Why?
Up till now, you've worked as a freelancer. This is your first time working at a 9-to-5, right? Working on Randy Cunningham?
Yeah. Yep, it's called Randy Cunningham, 9th Grade Ninja, on Disney XD. Check your local listings.
That's gonna be fun to say.
Yeah, I've never said that before. It's kind of cool. No, but yeah, I started working on season 1 back at the end of 2011, and again, like less than a year after, like it was 11 months after I moved, I found that job. You know, my first full-time studio job, and it's great. It's a totally different world. It's all digital. I work on Cintiq instead of wet media, like my at-home stuff. But it's amazing. It's like I'm surrounded by like colleagues and just talented people, like people who are really good at their craft, and it's nuts to see how many people it takes to make a cartoon. But when you just think about how they all work together, it's like we are all orchestrated in this way, from like the visual artists to like the production people who manage how we all work. It's this huge operation. But then you have a show at the end of it.
How do you like working with a Cintiq versus working with traditional wet media?
Honestly, it's weird because I had a lot of reservations about it, you know, and And I was actually, when I got hired, I was on like kind of like a probation period because I didn't really have digital experience. So they wanted to make sure I could learn how to use the programs, use the Cintiq. And I feel like I took to it like a fish to water, man. I guess it's not my preferred method because I carry around like a pad and a pencil, not a Cintiq. But at the end of the day, it's just drawing. It's just another tool.
Are you using Photoshop? What is the software?
I design in Flash.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. Our show is Flash animated.
But it's funny. I thought you were doing a lot of. Are you kind of working in the art department, like doing production art, or are you actually working on some of the actual animation for the show, or the actual?
Oh no, I do. I'm a character designer. I'm on the design team. We basically create all the assets that the animators then work with.
Oh.
So everything from we have background. We have on our team. It's like background. It's props. Even though our props are done now at the animation studio, it's still a part of the design. And I'm a character designer, so I'm doing rough designs and character turns, so you know what everything looks like, like 360. And then I'll do some cleanup work. We also have a color stylist, and they'll do cleaning and coloring of stuff of characters. But yeah, I'm in the visual, I guess, design / development department.
Wow.
And Flash is the standard for this? It's not an application preference?
It's a standard for our show, but every show is different. Every production has its different thing. Has its different program.
That's interesting. So is the Cintiq translating into your personal work?
I believe so. And yeah, I'm always on the verge of getting a Cintiq, just because it's like when I'm at home, especially for freelance, I just see I'm like, I can draw this and scan it and all that crap, or I can just get it done, And I see how digital if I have to draw digitally, I want to draw on a Cintiq just because it's the closest thing to drawing on a page. But as far as it translating to my wet media work, honestly, it does. It's the way I have to draw for this show. It's very structured. It's like even the goofiest styled show has a real structure to it. Like I tested for us. For Rick and Morty, that show. Yeah, it's crazy if you've seen it. It's nuts. And I tested for it when it was starting as for character design.
That's a Dan Harmon show, right?
Yes. Yeah. Starburns, the Starburns production. But so I tested, and I remember getting it and looking at the designs and just being like, oh, I got this, whatever. And then when I actually sat down to take the test, I was like, wait, even these characters that look so simple on the outset, there's a structure to it. There's a math to it. And it can't. And so, just my mind has become I've been working in animation for about 2 years now, and even it's kind of getting ingrained in me. So when I'm drawing a comic page, I kind of have that math when I'm working on just a page, and it's not like it's anything new. It's just more focused. It's like you see the structure of what you're drawing, and when you can whip it out really quickly, it helps you. It's all these things, these technical things I learned as a younger artist. They are now secondhand to me. It's almost like I forgot them, and working in animation reminded me. Oh yeah, you know how to do these things. This is important.
Do you ever worry about losing your own visual identity in art? Do you worry that when you use these techniques that'll make your personal work look not so much as I guess look more like everybody else's? Do you worry about that? Is that a concern, or is your art just gonna be what it is? It's gonna evolve the way it evolves, or do you make a conscious effort to make it different?
I think it's always going to evolve. It's. I used to fight that, but I remember getting really frustrated as I got into college and shortly after, because I would absorb styles. I'd be like, oh, I like Mignola, and suddenly everyone has a pointy nose and harsh shadows. Or it's like, oh, I like Liefeld, and suddenly everyone is grimacing and they have lots of hair. But now I see it for what it is, and it's really just it's like this thing. It's like you are just assimilating everything you see, and it's from your experiences with friends and stuff. It's like how do you know what to do when you first get with a girl? Usually it's because like somebody.
I still don't know what I'm doing, dude.
Well,
I don't know if we want to go there on this show. That's another show.
That's another podcast. Yeah,
that's the Creative Impulse show, the Creative Impulse podcast after hours.
Yes.
we do the bar recording.
Silent Storm.
I want to be I want to be on that episode. But no, it's like you know how to do certain things because someone told you, someone mentioned it, and it's the same thing with art. I feel like my influences now, like I'll catch myself sometimes drawing hands like in the Randy Cunningham style, but then it gets absorbed into what I do, and it's like, oh, that's still my hand. It's just got a better structure to it. You know, it's all just grist for the mill, dude. It's just you're just feeding the fire. Like it's like the thing, man. You're just like somebody gets close to you, and you're just all tentacles and teeth, and you just suck it in, and next thing you know, you have that power. You know, it becomes a part of your vocabulary.
Hey, Cross, looks like we're run out of time. So I'm gonna let you do your plugs, man. We want to hear what you're doing out there, and then we're gonna close
the cavalcade of plugs. Here it comes, folks.
That could be a whole separate show.
You ain't got to rush though, dog. Just tell what you're doing, man.
All right. Right now I'm working, of course, on season 2, Randy Cunningham, Night Ninja. That's I think it's slated to start airing later this year. So that's really exciting. Like we all had a great time working on season 1, and I loved it. It was a great first studio experience for me, and I'm really proud of the show. But I feel like season 2, we're just taking it up another level. I hope the fans will like really dig it because of course can't say anything, but we're taking it to some new places, and I'm excited to see what people think when they get to see it.
Cool, man.
But in the meantime, too, I've started freelancing a little for comics, doing some cover work. So I just did the cover for Adventure Time series called The Flip Side, and that cover will appear on issue 6.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was with Boom Studios. I also just did a cover for the Black Dynamite
Yes!
comic.
Yes! That's my stuff! I want to say something else, but it's my...
Issue number 3 might involve some Black Dynamite in a standoff against, some otherworldly beings.
Nice.
I'm not going to say much. I just did that cover for IDW. Yeah, and I'm currently working on a couple indie comics. One of them I'm really excited about. It's called Tales from the Boneyard, and it's about myself and my inner child going on an adventure. Basically, I'm just like kind of hanging out in my apartment, and my inner child kicks down the door and is like, "Yo, fool, you need to stop slacking," and he forces me to go on this insane adventure. But that'll be done later this summer, so shortly after Comic-Con. So yeah, that's it for now. That's all. Oh, God, and I'm also hopefully, like, I guess not negotiations, but we're just trying to work out the logistics of it. Teaming up with Palmetto Silent Stage and Angry Robots to do a comic, like a short comic, to come out with their next release.
Nice.
The Panda King Uncrowned. Yeah.
Cross,
stuff. And they're great because they're toy guys. It's like totally out of my range, my element, but it's neat.
Cross, when are you going to tell our story, man? When are you going to talk about our high school days in a comic book? I've been waiting for you to do this for a long time, dude. I wanted you to draw our lunch table, man, of all of us joking around and stuff.
Yeah, and me getting angry. I know what you want. You want me to
embarrass myself? Let me get a tater tot. No, get your own tater tots, remember?
Oh, God, I do. I was so
Napoleon Dynamite.
I was such a selfish, angry little child.
You had to be there.
Tater tots and lightsabers. There's your title.
I used to try to, like, tense my jaw. Like, I saw Top Gun, and I would try to, like, tense my jaw. Yeah. I was, like, fat. I was, like, chubby. And I remember you would stare at me, and you'd be like, "Are you trying to tense your jaw?"
No, I didn't.
You did. You called me out. I was, like, just glaring at you and, like grinding my teeth, hurting myself.
That was funny.
And you're like, "Are you trying to tense your jaw? You better stop." Like, you just called me out on it. I felt like a punk because I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be like Iceman." And no, I was just chubby Dave. I was just Cross.
That's right.
He does this to us, too. So
that's right, Iceman. You are dangerous. But if the government trusts me, maybe you can, too. All right, man. This is getting out of control, man.
So sexual. That movie is so sexual.
Oh, don't get me started.
Hi, man.
All right, Cross. Great having you on the show. was
you
fun.
guys are really great. Like I'm excited to hear this. I'm excited to hear the other episodes too, because I've only listened to the one with the comedy writer. But
Oh yeah.
I was really taken with it. Like it's so many people have podcasts now. I mean, no insult, but it's like yours. It was a real treat to listen to. It was like fun for me.
Cool.
So it wasn't dull. You guys never were just like, what do we talk about now? And I've heard those podcasts.
Dude,
you guys have a good flow, the camaraderie. It really comes across.
We work hard at it, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm gonna pass. You know,
Yeah, he goes to bed right now.
They said every podcast I fall asleep because I'm stressed.
He's spent. He is spent.
Dave clued me into that variant.
Oh, dude, we did talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, man. You're such a cool character in that.
The variants, the skit you did that with the comic.
Yeah.
That was so Crosland, man.
It was so weird. It's funny because they didn't even want me. The guy they wanted backed out at the last minute.
What?
So, yeah, believe it or not. And so they just pulled me in, and they were just like, "You want to be in this show?" And I was like, "Yeah, trip to Texas. Let's do this."
You did good, man.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
That was fun.
That was awesome. All right, dude, we're gonna roll out for real. Let you go, man. You enjoy your time and the rest of your day, the rest of your weekend, and thanks again for taking time to hang with us, man.
Well, thanks, guys. It was a blast. Thanks for having me. Yeah, have a good weekend.
Oh, you're back. I was afraid I wasn't gonna see you again, so I could ask you. I've got a studio not far from here. I'd love you to come down. I need some inspiration for my art.
That's it.